Houston, say again, please.
Houston, we've had a problem.
Hey there folks, welcome ye all to yet another Friday vlog of mine. Another Friday has caught up with us people, and FU has caught us up people. Flaggins up to you all. I'll have a sip of this before we get going. We have a few things to talk about because I've been playing some new games this week, of which you will have seen in the title by now, I'm sure. And I just wanted to give my opinion of what I have played so far. One of the games of which is very little, but I'll give my opinion on it anyway. The other of the games I've played a fair bit of, but I think I'm still only scratching the surface of it, even though I've played a gazillion hours. And by gazillion, I mean about, 7. Let me have a sip of this, people, and we'll get going. I hope you've all had a good week. And if you've not had a good week, you should have one of these. And if you have had a good week, you should definitely have one of these. So either way, you should be having a flagon with me. My week's been absolutely mental with work, in a good way, all positive. But with what I do in the education sector, the students are all back next week, and there's loads to do. There's things going on everywhere. And I've just been sitting coding like a maniac, and before I knew it, it was 2 extra hours every day and not taking me lunch. So it was about 3 hours out, but in a good way, in a positive way, because I was excited about what I was doing, and I was keen to get elements of it all done. And when you're in the zone with coding and designing it, well, for me anyway, I just kind of get locked in, and when I finally stand up, it's like a glaze. But it's been a good week, but it's been a very busy one. So this is very, very appreciated at the moment. I'd buy you one, people. If you were right here, right now, I would be buying you a drink of tap water with ice. I'd buy you one, people. Ooh, flagon's up to you. Right. So the two games are Control and Gears of War 5, which dropped early. Funnily enough, there's a little story behind that. I'll tell you what, we'll talk about Gears 5 first, because it's the shorter of the two. And I was playing, because ages ago, I got Gears of War, the remake. The original was not remastered, it was fully remade by Microsoft. And I had bought it way, way, way back, and I had started it, but, same old story, never finished it. And it was just looking for an opportunity to play a no-brainer, and so I've finally got on with Johnny Boy, Craigie Boy's brother. Twins they are, people. Hey, bet you didn't know that. And so we got on. We decided to do it to warm up for the fact that we were going to be playing Gears 5 when it launched today. And well, it launches today if you've got the Game Pass, but it launches on the 10th if you're getting it on disc. And there was a little incentive for people to pay for Game Pass for the month, which I think has been fairly successful, to be fair to it. And we were playing Gears, or the original Gears or remake version, on Tuesday. And then we played it again yesterday night. And when we were on yesterday night, we were in the middle of playing it. It was about, 9 o'clock, I think. And because I'd pre-downloaded it and installed it, so it was already there about a week in advance. And as we were playing, it popped up with a message at the bottom of the screen saying, "Ready to start Gears of War 5." And we were like, what? So it actually dropped about 3 hours early. It was supposed to kick off at midnight. So we finished off the chapter we were on with the remake, and we went on to that. And the first part it kind of forced you to do. I think we could have come out of it, but we thought we'll do it anyway because they've thrown some extra things in. So there was a tutorial at the beginning, so we did that, and then we cracked into the game. There was a few buggy issues, not with the game, but with the online services. But I suspect that was because it had dropped early and everyone was just kind of hitting it. So we got kicked out a couple of times, but we always got in within a few minutes. But all in all, it's absolutely stunning, just like Gears of War 4 was. And it carries on from immediately after where Gears of War finished. Story-wise, it just continues from there. It just looks spectacular. They've put a lot of energy into little things with the action. So, like in the old games, you couldn't have the Lancer on, which had the chainsaw on it, and melee with it or saw with it. You could only saw with it, so you had no melee ability when you had the Lancer on. So what they've done now is your melee is actually a knife that comes out from the back, and it's it's B that does that, which used to be the chainsaw or melee with another gun, but it's now the right bumper button to chainsaw, which feels more natural, to be fair, which is great. So you can melee with any weapon, which is fantastic. There's a little thing like that. They've got, I think a few of these things were in 4 as well. You can jump over, you can grab enemies over, things you're hiding behind, grab them over and then melee kill them. And you can also counter-attack that if they jump over. And you can do a jump over and melee maneuver as well. So there's things you can learn in the tutorial that you didn't used to be able to do that you can now. And try to think if there was anything else in that tutorial that was new. There was a few little things like that were just fresh and nice ideas, really. Everything else was pretty much bog standard gameplay. So when you fall into the game, even if you didn't do that tutorial, you wouldn't be lost, because the melee would still do what you expected it to do. The only thing you would probably be a bit weird about is like, how come my chainsaw's not working? Well, if you'd done the tutorial, you'd know it's RB and not the B anymore. So it was good to play the tutorial just to get those little pockets of information. There was also little things like you can send. There's always been this little robot called Jack, and you can actually send that robot now to pick stuff up for you. So if you see ammo or guns or anything on the field while you're fighting, you can basically aim at it and hit X, and it will fly over and bring it over to you, which is fantastic. That was a really clever little add-in, which makes all the difference in a fight. I mean, it can be the difference between life and death in, if you're playing in Insane. We're playing on the one below Insane, but even then it was quite tough. So it makes all the difference, because it seems less generous with the ammo pickups and it was the same with 4. Like when I was playing the original again, you'd pick up an ammo crate and you'd have full, if you got a big one, you'd have full ammo. Well, there doesn't seem to be a lot of those about, and even when you do pick them up, it doesn't seem now that I'm saying that, it may well fill it up, but the Lancer doesn't hold. It used to hold, on the old game, it held 650 bullets, and on these games, it holds 420, I think. So there is, it's not as generous in that respect, which makes no sense in the world, because it's the same, it's the same weapons and stuff that were there in the original. Anyway, I think it's nice to have that little bit of extra. I think to some extent it actually forces you, and it's probably done on purpose, to use other weapons. Because I found myself, when in the original one, it was always like, I was reluctant to move weapon because I was always just using my Lancer, and it was always sort of alright with ammo. In this one, it's like, oh crap, I've got no ammo left, I'm going to have to move to this gun or whatever. So it does push you around your weapons a bit more, which is quite clever. There was also a weird quirk that Johnny Boy picked up on, which was, there was a... if you hold, you pick your weapons on the D-pad, so grenades are up and your Lancer's right and your shotgun's left or whatever, and down is your pistol, whatever type you've got. If you hold it down for about 3 or 4 seconds, it actually drops it on the ground, which is, as far as I know, never been there before. But it's quite hard to, John did it he did it by accident, which I was quite surprised about, because when I tried to do it, I had to hold it down for ages before it did it. So I don't know why he felt he was holding it down as long as why he needed to hold it down that long. But anyway, it's a feature that seems to be new. But as far as the gameplay went, it's smooth, it's slick, it's stunning. The story's going in a direction that is fine so far, but it's to some degree, I think it's always going to struggle story-wise, so far as the game suffered. The fourth one suffered from the entire sort of first quarter or maybe even third of the game. You weren't fighting against something like the Locust. You were fighting against machines, and it just didn't work. I could have done with that for about an hour at most, but it took far too long to get out of that, and it just wasn't fun. And I haven't seen any of that in this game, because how the story pans out, you just don't, I won't give anything away, but you just don't need to fight them anymore. So it is good that we've got straight into the action, and it's straight into the Locust, or whatever they're called now. They might have changed the name, that I can't remember. So we're back into it. The other new thing is that you can actually, the robot, when you start out, the little hovering robot is called Dave, but he changes into a new version of Jack, and then he's called Jack again, so far as we've now just discovered. And that, not only has it got all these extra abilities, but you can actually, when you get into a co-op game, that you can make it 3-player and the third person is actually playing as Jack. Now, I've no idea what that experience is going to be like, but I wouldn't want to play as the robot. Not in co-op story. And I think the reason they've done it is because they are really trying to promote the robot, because the robot can be used. I remember seeing something on it recently that if you're playing Horde mode, you can actually play as Jack, the little hovering robot, and you can go round the whole map just setting stuff up for everybody else who might be pinned down and needs to move, or, you know, so it's quite a powerful character. So it could be quite fun in that respect, but playing through the story, I don't know how that would work. I mean, to some extent, because we found going into certain areas, you're totally reliant when it's really dark on that little robot giving you light, so it needs to come with you to shine lights down if you want to see everything. I mean, most of the stuff you want to pick up does glow to some extent, but we did. If somebody's playing as Jack, I suppose you could actually say to them, "Move over here so we can see what's going on," or whatever. So, you know, it could be useful, but how much fun it is to play as the robot in the story, I don't know. The other because we were like, why can we not play as, you know, Marcus or the girl who always seem to be there anyway? But I think what they've done is, because the game has always been a 2-player co-op. Well, that's not true, is it? Because it went 4-player co-op in certainly in 3. I'm sure it was 4-player co-op. 1 and 2 were both 2-player, I think. Anyway, I think story-wise, it's much easier for them to have you as a robot-y type character, because the robot has no real story. So it can always be there. If you pick another human character that's going to be co-op in that story, they have to be present in the story all the way, you know. So I think that's why they've done it that way. But it's good, it's different, and you know, I'm all for, you know, little changes going into a game like that, because you don't want to play just the same thing every time they release a new one. As long as the additions bring something fresh and solid, I'm all for it. So, if you have any inkling to play it, if you want to play it right now, and there's still deals going on for Game Pass, and I think you can get Game Pass for £2, or you certainly could up until, I didn't check today, but you certainly could up until this week. So you can get 2 months for £2, for £2, and then just cancel the resubscription if you really want. Just play it. Say, you know, £2, bloody hellfire. For £2 you could play it and be done with it, and then cancel the subscription, and you'll still have 2 months worth of free games. So it's well worth doing if you've got an Xbox One. So there you are. That's my experience of games of Gears so far. We've only played to Act 1 chapter. We've just got to did a bit of Chapter 2. It's solid in places playing at the level we were, you know, really getting used to it. Some of the enemies are really, you know, the little enemies that are like the little wretches, although they're kind of different types of little wretches now. But the damage they do to you, like, they're just quick and, you know. Anyway, it was good though. I like a bit of a challenge like that. Be solid on Insane, that though. So there you are. Yes, thoroughly enjoyed that. I shall get more of that done probably from Monday onwards. And yeah, I'm looking forward to playing through that campaign. I've always loved playing through the campaigns of Gears, and I've always loved getting a bit of Horde in. I'm really looking forward to playing the new Escape mode, which brings a little backstory of its own and new little characters. Well, not little, just new normal characters, Gears characters to play that particular thing as. And that's the one where you basically start in the centre of the swarm nest, and or whatever it's called now, swarm locust. You start in because you are a team that drop into the centre of it, plant a chemical weapon, which is basically like a massive smoke grenade thing that goes off with green poison in it. And then you've got to get the hell out of there before it spreads. But on trying to get out of there, you've got to make your way through all of the enemies, of course. But what you've got is happening behind you. You've got the smoke creeping up on you, so you cannot camp down and stick in. You've got to keep moving forward, or you'll just die with the smoke hitting you. So it pushes you forward all the time, and it gives you limited ammo, limited gun drops, and all that sort of stuff. You've got to rely on your special moves. They've given you special... moves is the wrong word, but special abilities. That you get like a special ability per character, and then you have to make the most of that. So it looks quite challenging. I haven't tried it yet, but I'm looking forward to trying that. So there you are. That is Gears 5 so far. Whew. Is it just me, or is it hot in here? Need a drink. Ooh, I've been playing a lot of game this week. it's been really nice. I'm not, don't get me wrong, I love my little channel, people, and I love that you guys love watching me play games, but it has been quite refreshing playing games without recording and having to do all the stuff around it, just enjoying games for games again for a little while. So we'll get back to the Let's Plays at some point, but it has been nice to just, it kind of revitalizes you so far as you never want what I'm doing, especially because I don't do it as a job and I do it as fun and I do it to connect with you guys. The last thing you want is your YouTube channel becoming a job. Like, even if you did it full time, you would not want it feeling like a job. And that's why all these, big YouTubers release videos and tweet about having mental breakdowns and, you know what I mean? I'm not laughing at mental breakdowns, people. It's just like, if you look at the grand scheme of the world, though, you know what I mean? Having a mental breakdown because you're putting up too many videos, well, just stop putting up videos, which is what they do in the end, But it is, it kind of wears you down a bit. So it's nice to just step away and just remember why you love gaming so much rather than, So it's been really nice playing, the Dark Souls playthrough is still there. I just haven't, because I've been playing Control, which we'll talk about now. I haven't got any more Dark Souls done this week, but it's been nice just to do the 3 games I'm doing and enjoy them for what they are and spend time with Johnny Boy and, just all of these things that you kind of drift away from when you're doing the YouTubey stuff. So it's been quite nice. Anyway, moving swiftly on. Whoa. Control, is it good, bad, or indifferent? Or is it awesome? Is it excellent? Is it any of these words, people? Well, I'll tell you right now, I love it. Absolutely love it. So I'm going to say that right off the bat, right? Is it perfect? No. But it's only not perfect for very, very small, tiny reasons thus far. And, I've seen IGN gave it an 8.8, and which was a great score. And then looking at Metacritic, it's sitting, depending on which platform you look at it on, I think on the Xbox it's on 81, and on the PlayStation it's on PS4 it's on 83, or it was the last time I looked, from the reviewers. But if you look at the actual user scores, it's sort of sitting at around 7 or something. So it's kind of getting a bit of a mixed bag, but you either get this game or you kind of don't get this game. And it's either the sort of game you're going to love or the sort of game you're not. Now, I would say to you, if you like Alan Wake and you like Dead Space, there's a pretty good chance you're going to love this game. And would I say it's as good as Dead Space and Alan Wake? It's a tough one only because I feel like the Dead Space and the Alan Wake stories were so good that it's very hard to hit that pinnacle. And at this point, I would say that Control's story, much as though it's original, much as though I'm enjoying it thoroughly, if I had to pick out of the 3 stories, it wouldn't be that one at the top. I would definitely go with Dead Space 1 and 2, not 3, and Wake. So, story-wise, I love the atmosphere of the other 2, probably just a smidge more than I love Control, but that doesn't take away from the fact that Control's got a great story for me. I love what's going on with it. Honestly don't even know what's going on with it half the time. But I like that. I like the mystery of it all. It's creepy as feck in places. Like some of the even in Alan Wake, you like to have these little TVs you could switch on and there'd be this weird, was it American Nightmare or was it? I can't remember, but, you'd have this weird, mad thing going on the TV with an actor, or you've got all of these, and he's got kind of a 70s vibe going on with the videos and the film, and even though it doesn't feel like it's in a 70s world, he's got that, almost like that, what were they called? That company in Lost, it'll come back to me. That's annoying, it's right on the tip of my tongue. Anyway, so it's got that kind of a feel to it, with this sort of 70s vibe going on with the science guys and the videos that you pick up on the way watching what they were up to and stuff. The weapon reminds me, it's a living weapon. It's a pistol, but it's a living weapon, so it kind of morphs into all these different things as you pick up the abilities as you go. It can morph into a shotty type pistol, can morph into a scatter pistol, it can morph into just a revolver pistol, and there's a piercing one which is more of a sniper one. So you get the idea, and I'm sure there's more than that. But you can jump at the moment. I can jump between two of those things. I can't have more than that on at one time. But it reminds me a lot of the plasma cutter, so far as it's a weapon I love to kind of mess around with and put, different things on. The leveling up side of it, I'm just kind of grasping it, because it's not hard to understand. It's just knowing when to level certain bits up, because some of the elements you need to do other things to level it up, you can only pick up in certain places. So you then become kind of stuck, because you can't actually, like, you can upgrade the ability to build add-ons for it that are a level 4, say. And if you level that up all the way up to level 4 before you've actually, when you do that, it then lets you make components for level 4. But the problem is you need the bits to make the components for level 4. And if you haven't got them, you're then stuck without any ability to do, much. So you need to just pace yourself with it. And, I think there's a little bit of, like, when you find a drop or you find a chest, or not a chest, it's not a chest, but it's a bit like a chest, like it's something you open. Like a metal case. When you find these things in safe houses and stuff and you open them, you tend to get materials and items and stuff. And it doesn't, like, it's not the game's fault. It's the history of playing games that makes it a little bit not exciting when you pick it up. And I think it's just because mentally we're trained to get excited about certain things. Because when you pick it up, it's like, you're like, oh, okay, that's something I can use, I'm sure. But the fact of the matter is, it's probably like, oh, great, because I only have 3 of those, I need 5 to make this, But when you're picking them up at the speed that you're doing stuff, and, it doesn't register with you until you get to you get to a central point where you level your stuff up, and then you go, oh, I've got 6 of them now, I can do that upgrade, or I can do, But, so it kind of grows on you, is what I'm getting at a little bit there. So yeah, but I love it, and it's like I have never grown bored of the weapon, because you've got all your abilities surrounding it as well. So the weapon's always fun. You don't have to reload it either, which was a little bit of getting used to, because I do love reloading a weapon, it has to be said. So when I first realised that, I was like, oh, I like doing the old reload, but there's a reason for it. It's got a recharge time. You don't have any ammo pickup in this game, because it's a living weapon with energy. So the reason it runs out of what you're using is because it's downcharged. So when you fire it for so long, it'll say low on ammo, and then you just either stop or it runs out, and you got to wait for it to charge back up, your ammo's back, get back into it. In the midst of that time, you need to use all the other things at your disposal, the moves you've been picking up. And you don't start with much. You've got to find these things and do the puzzles, and, But I love the way that the game's mixed itself up. Like, the enemies are great, and it introduces them at a pace, so that you get the bog standard ones, then you get the exploding ones, then you get the sniper ones, then you get, not necessarily in this order, but then you get the shotgun ones, and you get there was another type of one that came along recently, I can't remember what it was, but you get all sorts. And then once you've got through a few, then it starts introducing them all at once, and it's really good. The only point I got stuck on was, I got to a point flowing through the story, and then it said, right, go and see so-and-so at such and such a place. And looking at you hit up on the map, but because it's this massive building, the map is only showing you really the floor you're on, and you can jump down. If you've been to a place, you can go to the left-hand side and jump down the points that you've unlocked, like fast travel points, effectively. But it doesn't really say, this is exactly where you need to go for your next quest. It might tell you in that menu that it's in that place, but in this particular case it just said go and find so and so in this place that I'd never found before. And I was honestly running around for about an hour and I was like, I don't know where to go, like, it's not like, but it hadn't twigged that the central lift, I mean, it had kind of twigged that it had opened, but it didn't twig that I just needed to go there, and on the lift menu was the different areas that were available to me, and all I had to do, and that I hadn't been to this research area before, once I went down there it all opened up again. And since then, now that I get that, it's brilliant, the flow's great, because I thought, well, I don't want to be fast travelling everywhere, that's a bit, But it does it now that I know that the flowing around the areas is great, and it makes you. It's not backtracking as such, but it makes you go back to areas so far as there's certain doors you can't open because you don't have the key card for the right, So it gives you a reason to go and rediscover areas in certain places. It's really cool. Generally speaking, the level you are on will give you a key card for the level you've just come from. For me, there'll be a few doors down there, but most of the doors where you are will be the level above. So it gives you this reason to bounce backwards and forwards between these levels, which is great. The atmosphere is really, really dark, and there's always this haunting, hissing, talking sound going on while you're walking around. The music's great. The main character, the woman's great. Voice acting's fantastic. The movement of the character's actually really good. I don't know how to explain it. Like Alan Wake was kind of clumsy, and not that it mattered so much, but if you tried to jump on something or move around, he was quite clumsy. Dead Space, you don't jump anyway, but she's really free moving. Like, if you can imagine an Alan Wake that can actually jump and sprint properly, and really nice. Like, when I first saw the gameplay, I thought, is that going to be a little bit awkward to get the hang of? But it's really not. She's really well done. The areas look fantastic. The camera pans beautifully. I'm trying to think of anything else that sort of jumped out at me at it, but it's on the whole, I've just absolutely adored playing it so far. And to be honest, I would have been playing it all week had it not been for Johnny Boy wanting to get together and have a bit of Gears of War time. And I'm happy to step away for that time, because it's time I've not had with my mates for ages, sitting and gaming online for a bit and just chatting and having a laugh. So it's been really nice to step away and have that kind of gaming experience in the middle of having lonely gaming experiences, so it's a nice balance. So there you are. I'm trying to think now. I was going to go on to something else there, and I can't remember what it was. But all of the abilities, they come from finding objects of power in the game. And when you find an object of power, it gives you a little bit of a puzzle to get into it. And then, and the puzzles are fantastic because they kind of like the way the game is really nicely balanced between discovery, fighting, and puzzles at the moment. And the fighting is great. It's beautiful. Everything's smooth. Everything works the way you want it to. When you find an item of power, it gives you a little training thing to do, and then you get on with the game again. So it teaches you really well how to use your abilities. So far, I have found the quick dodge power, the shield power. I've got more than that. What have we got? Oh, I forget what it's called. Launch. It's called launch, which basically means you can lift items up and chuck them at enemies. All of these abilities, you can upgrade the weapon. You can upgrade the weapon with components in a separate way. You can upgrade the components that you can make for the weapon. You can upgrade and then you've got upgrades for personal upgrades, which can add to any of those things like launch and dodge, and use less energy when using this ability, give me more health when I'm picking up health. But you've also got a certain amount of sockets to put these things into, of which you start with one and you've got to unlock the others, all these sort of things. So the upgrading is really, really cool, and you've got to find stuff, discover stuff, spend it, very nice. I'm loving it, absolutely loving it. And I would say that I said to Craigie Boy, because he's not played it yet, and I was recommending, because me and Craigie Boy loved Dead Space first, Dead Space 2. Alan Wake came along only because we discovered it late in the day. So these sort of third person, sort of haunting type things, we've always been right into, and it's just the very thing that I've been looking for since we've never had Dead Space back again, and we've never had another Alan Wake. And, Quantum Break never quite reached that for me because it was trying to do too much with its TV nonsense. So this has been a perfect... It's the first game I've come across that's made me feel wakey, Dead Spacey in a long time. So it's been a perfect drop for me, that. So if you like Dead Space and Alan Wake, and a mesh of those two things piques your interest, then the game you will enjoy. And I think that's all I've got to say about that. Whew! Is it time for another drink yet? Well, it's Scotland versus Russia tonight, people. I'm very excited because I'm a Scotsman, as you know. You can tell by my accent. For those just joining, for those who don't know, I have this awesome English accent because I grew up in Germany. Yes, you'd think I'd have a German accent. No, because it's British Forces schools I went to. So I ended up with generic British accent, even though I'd never lived in English accent, even though I'd never lived in England in my life until I was 30 or something. I lived in Scotland when I moved back. Anyway, so I am Scottish. I shall be supporting the Scotland. We've got our new manager in place. It's a painful business being a Scotland supporter, people. You've got no idea, like, unless you are one of my Scottish crew, LLC, Cool CC, Plays C. You know who I'm talking to. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that later. It's on Sky Sports, so I'll be watching that with a few of these. Possibly doing some gaming online, but we'll see what happens. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that later. Be good. So I'm just hoping Russia aren't an easy side by any stretch. So I'm just hoping we can pull something out of the bag because, you know, we need to get to our bloody finals, people. France 98 was the last one. I remember it, people. I remember watching it. That's how old I am. I was a grown-up as well. It was brilliant, France 98. Loved it. We still didn't get out of the group phases, but it was brilliant. What an atmosphere that was. And what a France side as well. Old Zidane, wasn't it? Zinedine, not from Final Fantasy. Right, only this channel will get that joke, people. Right, I think I'm done. Before I spraff on anymore, flaggins up to you all. I didn't raise that very high, did I? Flaggins up to you all. Have a fantastic Friday. Have a fantastic weekend. Let me know in the comments below if you've played either of these games, if you've been enjoying them, if you've been thinking about getting them and what I've said has helped you or what I've said has put you off a little bit. You know, all the good, people. I'm only selling it so far as what I love. So, you know, let me know in the comments below what you think of anything I've said this evening. It has been an honour and a privilege serving for you once again in this vlog of mine. And I shall see you all next time. Take it easy, folks. Bye.